What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll. We got a fun episode for you today. We're talking to our friend Andrew, who's an occupational therapist, about one of the awesome tools he designed for quads or for anybody with adaptive or limited function. So let's get into that stuff and talking any adaptive tools. If you guys have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Anything regarding the tool, adaptive tools you're using, or questions just for Andrew in general. So I will do some quick intros and get into it. I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 20 years ago. Tom?
What's up, everyone? Tom Conaway, C6B, quadriplegic for the last 27 years. Oh my God, I'm getting old. I'm coming at you from beautiful, sunny Southern California. And Andrew, you mind introducing yourself for us?
Yeah, I'm Andrew Flint. I'm an occupational therapist, coming up on 7 years being in the field this November, and I'm coming to you from St. Louis, Missouri. Sunny, but a little more muggy than you guys on the West Coast.
Yeah, you guys do get that moist air out there, but that's cool. We love St. Louis. Maybe let's set the stage a little bit today. We're going to definitely talk about the MagnaCuff and dive into that, but can you maybe tell us a little bit what is occupational therapy for anybody who might be unfamiliar with that particular kind of therapy or rehab?
Yeah, so occupational therapy is one of those professions that can be a little bit hard to define just because it is so broad, the scope. But in a nutshell, anything you have to do, want to do from the time you get up in the morning to the time you go to bed, we're looking at different ways for you to do that. Whether that's coming up with different strategies, different tools, different techniques, or seeing if we can strengthen, add to your flexibility so that those different activities are easier to do. So from a basic level, getting dressed, using the restroom, taking a shower, eating, which will be the topic of the MagnaCuff today, and then up from there. So, are you having a hard time mowing the lawn? Do you want to be able to pick up your grandkids? So it's really anything under the sun. We just try to meet people where they're at and give them the tools to be able to engage in the things they want and need to do throughout the day.
A term you'll often hear, at least I've heard a lot of occupational therapists use, is we're tackling ADLs, activities of daily living.
Yeah.
So it's just anything you can imagine you do during your day, whether that's just getting up in the morning, brushing your teeth, making breakfast, feeding yourself, and on and on and on. But it's just things you do normally throughout the day that might have changed for you post disability. Bobby, welcome.
Hey, sorry about that.
Oh, you're good. You want to do a quick little intro for yourself, real quick?
Yeah, Bobby Rohan, C5, C6, part of this crew, as most of you know, and yeah, sorry, barge in like this.
All good. All good.
You're a busy man, Bobby. It's all right. But we were just getting into we were just starting the show, welcoming Andrew onto the show, and just hearing about his kind of experience as an OT for right now, or what an OT is. But yeah,
So
go ahead.
maybe how'd you get into it? What was your journey into occupational therapy?
Yeah, I actually had a science teacher in high school who knew a gentleman who had a visual impairment, and he had been a Paralympian himself, and he was getting older and just wanted to still stay engaged in sports, and he was a runner during his heyday, and by the time I met him, my high school science teacher, she was a world class runner, and she asked if anyone was willing to be a guide for a big race in Boulder, Colorado, which is where I grew up, called the Boulder Boulder. And it sounded interesting to me. I'd always run the Boulder Boulder. It's something I really enjoyed. I really enjoyed the atmosphere, the camaraderie. And so it seemed like a really cool opportunity. And that was kind of the spark for me. So I was this man's guide. And I did it with him for, I think, 8 years after that. So
Wow.
we had a good relationship. It was really fun to check in with him at least once a year. And just the realization that it really didn't take much to support someone else to do something that they enjoyed and that I could enjoy it along the way as well. So that was kind of the spark. I still didn't know, I hadn't heard of occupational therapy, but I continued on that kind of adaptive sports route. And through that experience, started meeting more people through the adaptive recreation program through Boulder Parks and Rec. And a lot of those folks had spinal cord injuries, and I just kind of got to know a lot of these people and really enjoyed seeing how they adapted to life, see how they still found ways to really engage and enjoy their lives. And from there, I just kind of kept on going with the adaptive sports and got involved in a program up in Spokane, Washington, where I went to undergrad school called Parasport Spokane. And they have a wheelchair basketball program, wheelchair track and field program. And one of their coaches is also an occupational therapist, Teresa Skinner. And she was actually the first occupational therapist I ever met. And so she introduced me to the field. And from there, I couldn't turn away. I knew what my path was going to be and started changing my college courses. I was a sophomore at that point. So I was in psychology and just started taking anatomy, physiology, all the prereqs for OT school, and rest is history.
You didn't want to do rec therapy?
I seriously considered it. I really did. It's an awesome profession. I still think about it from time to time. I went occupational therapy as one of those things where it was a toss up. I was really close to going rec therapy and just had to make the decision and stick with it.
Well, nowadays with insurance, you probably pick the better one with more options.
That was part of the decision too. Yeah, just more job availability.
Have you since starting your career and being an OT, have you been able to stay involved in any adaptive sports or anything like that, or any programs like that?
Not as much. Early in my career, I was able to. I stayed in contact with the folks at the Boulder Parks and Rec. Expand is their adaptive rec program. And I stayed involved in their adaptive water ski program, which was a blast. I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe they paid me to do that. I had so much fun. So unfortunately, I haven't been able to recently. I've got a 6-month-old and been working full time still as an occupational therapist. That's my day job. MagnaCuff's been my evenings and weekend passion project. So that's where I've been putting my time and energy. But I would love to get back involved in adaptive sports if possible.
No, that's cool. I'm sure, especially right now with a baby like 6 months, you're not going to be doing things for a little bit, but not have a lot of extra time for that.
Exactly.
But yeah, in the future, that'd be really great. And you had experience, if you mentioned before, but you also do have experience working at Craig Hospital, which is one of the first, which is like a renowned rehab facility and known for the spinal cord injury recovery there. So.
Yeah.
And that's great. So, and now you work for the VA, right? I just getting making
sure
I know.
I went to occupational therapy school at Colorado State in Fort Collins, Colorado, and had the great fortune of getting my last clinical rotation at Craig Hospital. It had been a dream of mine ever since I started OT school. Was in their inpatient spinal cord injury unit for my last rotation, and then once again was very fortunate to get a job there right out of school, and I was there for about 2.5 years. And then, and I loved every second of it. Craig Hospital is an amazing place. Love all the people, met some amazing patients as well along the way who I've stayed in contact with, which has been awesome. And then, transferred to the spinal cord injury at the VA in Denver after that for another 2 years or so. And then my wife's from St. Louis, so we transferred out here. So I'm in the VA out in St. Louis now. And I'm still trying to get into their spinal cord injury unit. They haven't had any openings yet, so I'm doing kind of a smattering of general occupational therapy outpatient services now.
Oh, that heartbreak to leave Colorado. Oh.
It's tough. It's tough. I'm going back this weekend, though, so I get a little taste here and there.
There you go. Yeah.
And
Go ahead, Andrew.
Oh, no, go ahead.
Oh, I was going to say, if I wasn't wheelchair user, I would definitely be in Colorado,
Yeah,
where
absolutely.
I was born there too. So
Oh, great. Whereabouts?
outside of Denver,
Okay.
I lived in Golden, Colorado.
Okay, yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that's prime.
Mhm.
Sounds pretty golden. So you mentioned it a minute ago, the MagnaCuff. I just want to make sure we talk, like, have spend some time talking about it, showing it off. So is it cool if we dive into that? Can you maybe tell us what it is? What inspired you to develop it? You said it takes up a lot of your time now, so we'd love to just hear more about it.
Yeah, absolutely. So before I get into how the MagnaCuff came to be, I'll just give you a quick little synopsis of what it is. So it's a 3D printed magnetized utensil cuff. I'll give you a little demo a little later on, but this is what it looks like. It's a replacement for your standard utensil cuff. And like I said, 3D printed, and then it has a little slot here, and there's a built-in magnet. So you can't see it, but it's built into the body of the device. And it allows you to hover over utensil and suck it up. And I'll give you a little demo in a second here, but how it came to be, I was working at Craig Hospital in the inpatient spinal cord injury unit, and one of the things that pretty much everyone wanted to start working on right from the get-go after their spinal cord injury was, how do I eat a meal independently? It's one of those things that has the highest frequency really out of any activity of daily living. Most of us, if not all of us, do it, at least 3 times a day, if not more. And I found myself working with folks who were getting frustrated with the process, understandably so. And the best thing I was able to give them from our supply clinic was this utensil cuff. And a few
That's been
things.
that's been around for 35 years.
Exactly. And I was looking at it and I'm thinking, okay, someone with limited hand function, the best we could do is some floppy webbing material with some Velcro and a tiny little loop that you have to get your finger around, pull it tight to secure it on your hand. And then we're working with a tiny little slot that utensil, well, I guess it goes like this. I got it backwards. We're working with a tiny little slot that you got to slide that utensil in. It's floppy. Where does your thumb go? Top or bottom of the utensil? And then, God forbid, you want to change between your fork and your spoon. You got to bite it or, get a caregiver to help you switch it out and then go through the process again to get the next utensil inserted. And so I was looking at this and I was thinking, I'm frustrated because as the occupational therapist, I feel like my tools are limited. I can only imagine how, the patients were feeling, already being frustrated, and then they're given this device that doesn't really fix the problem. So that was the catalyst. I saw the need and I started thinking, all right, utensils are metal. Magnets can be implanted in pretty much anything. And so I created a prototype that was made out of splint material and one of those name badge magnets, the one that goes on the inside of your shirt or inside of your pocket.
Oh yeah.
And just created a very basic version of the MagnaCuff. And I had one guy that I was working with who he was kind of my first product tester. And it was still kind of floppy, so it also had like a hair tie that you could bring around the back of your hand and attach to a loop. So it's still pretty rudimentary, but it was a start, right? And this guy tried it, and it certainly wasn't this, aha, this is perfect, we found the solution, but it was hey, I think we might be onto something here. And luckily, Craig Hospital has a rehab engineering program. So they have a full-time rehab engineer, Patrick Wagner. At least I think he's still there. Great guy. And they also had a 3D printer available to them. And they also had a rehab engineer intern. And so the intern and I then worked on the prototype. I would try it out with my patients, bring it to him. He'd turn it into a 3D model. go back and forth. So it was an amazing situation because the prototyping was just going really fast because we had people to trial it with. We had a 3D printer, and he was able to make changes and tweaks as we went along. So I'll give you a little demo now of kind of where we ended up.
And Luis, yeah, it is 3D printed.
Yes. So I'll show you real quick here. So it comes in 3 sizes. And we wanted to, first and foremost, solve the problem of we wanted the device to be able to put on without the need of a caregiver. I wanted the person to be able to pick up and switch between utensils independently. And then the other thing with that utensil cuff that I showed you earlier is that the thumb ends up usually just dragging through your food. And so we wanted to get the thumb out of the way as well. So this is the MagnaCuff. You can put it on by just pushing it against your other hand and sliding it onto your knuckles. And then the thumb goes up on that loop there. And then all you have to do is put it down on the table in front of the utensil, slide it forward, you hear it click into place, and then you can either push it down into your table or you can push it into your other hand. The magnet's strong enough so it's not going anywhere. I can shake my hand as much as I want. It's not falling off. But it's not so strong that you can't put a little bit of downward pressure, slide it right out, and then you're good to go.
Nice.
It looks awesome. It looks clean. I like how there's no like Velcro loop or anything, so you can just like slide your hand into it. Like that was one of the hardest times I always had using like a assistive utensil cuff like that, was like getting it in and then pulling the Velcro and looping it and stuff. And it's just what you said. As soon as I got a utensil in there, the last thing I wanted to do was swap it out because it was such a pain in the ass to, do.
Yeah.
That looks super clean, very streamlined. I know you have one, Shawn. What's your experience been with it? You're muted, I
Sorry.
think.
Yeah, I muted because I was actually just messing with the one I have here, because it is super easy to pull those things in and out to pull the utensils. I've never been like, I hated using that little Velcro cuff thing, so I was like, nah, I'm not using adaptive tools. I'll just figure this out on my own. And I've kind of done that for a long time, but it is harder for some things. And using the MagnaCuff the last couple of weeks, it's actually really convenient and easier. I've actually found that for a lot of stuff, it is way easier for me to eat and use. And also, like for like stabbing food, I couldn't really, it's hard to get my fork into something. With the MagnaCuff and that little thumb loop and everything it has there, I actually have no problem at all. I can like stab a piece of meat and eat it like super easily. I don't have to try to scoop it or use my other hand to scoop it onto the fork, which is honestly what I've done most the time in the past, like a lot. So, yeah, no, it's honestly been a really cool tool, because I've tried a couple of the adaptive ones, like even like we had a few months back, we had the people from Easy Hold On, their little rubber straps that can go on your utensil. Those were effective and worked, but not for me personally as a quad, like with like pretty much just the tenodesis, like C5-6 quad. The MagnaCuff is way easier for me to get on my hand and again to switch utensils to do anything like that. And yeah, no, it works honestly really good. And I have one here. This one's this small. It's actually just too tight for my hand. And it's a little like pinches my hand a little bit, but the medium fits perfectly. So I have a medium at home. I've been using a black one. But this one we are going to do a giveaway for. So just let you guys know, if anybody out there thinks they could fit it, I would love to give it to them, somebody that can really use it. So any quads out there that do have a smaller hand, because I'm skinny, but I'm 6'1", so my frame is not like tiny, as like I get my skeletal like hand is. There's not a lot of meat there, but it's still the medium worked for me.
Awesome. And Shawn, we can do a giveaway of any size. So if we want to do the giveaway, and then I can figure out with whoever wins what size hand they've got, then we can make that happen.
Okay, cool. So yeah, that's what I knew. I had asked you about doing a giveaway, and you said, of course, like no problem.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
I also was want to try to gift that to somebody that can really use it and get some use out of it.
yeah.
And it would help,
Awesome.
so
And we just
Also, on the topic of stabbing, I did want to let you know too. So each MagnaCuff comes with a fork and a spoon, and the style that we provide can be fairly easily bent. And what that allows you to do, so if someone is having a hard time pronating or turning their palm down like that to stab, you can use it with a bent utensil. And so it slides in. So then you're just putting downward pressure with your hand, pronating, and then you're eating. And so
That's
we did
cool.
want to design it to allow folks who have a harder time stabbing to get more pressure behind their hand by pushing straight down. So that is something we wanted to consider as well.
yeah, I have a
I,
few questions for you from the chat actually.
Yeah.
And Bobby, if you want,
go
well,
ahead.
Olivia
Yeah, get
mentioned
to
that
my.
it looks easy to sterilize and clean, and then somebody asked if it's dishwasher safe, or Luis did, and I believe yes. But do you want to answer that? How
Yeah.
sanitary, dishwasher safe, everything like that? How you clean them?
Yep. Best way to clean it: warm water, soap, or like a Clorox wipe. Anything in the dishwasher will warp it just because it is a 3D printed material. So I tell folks, don't dishwash it, and then also if you can avoid leaving it in a really hot car. I know sometimes that's hard, especially for if you're in Southern California, that can be challenging. But if you can avoid it, great. I think leaving it in a hot car for a reasonable amount of time, I don't think you'll see any warping. We haven't seen that yet, but certainly avoid dishwasher. You can clean it very easily with warm water and soap, and that'll do the trick.
Awesome. And then also, I know you had mentioned staining. You put it in like spaghetti sauce, right? Or was it
Yeah,
marinara
yeah,
overnight, and then was it washed with no staining? And then
yep.
Willie was asking how to get one. I have the link right now to their website in the description if you want to check it out and order. And then also, I think Andrew is from the UK asked if you ship internationally, I believe. Do you ship internationally then?
We do, we do. It's a small business. It's run by myself, really. I've had a lot of help along the way, and I do have a 3D printer who does my designing, but kept it small intentionally to try to keep the cost down. So we do ship internationally. The shipping cost is just calculated at checkout. So
Okay.
once you're there, and then we do offer a 30-day trial. Um, and if you got the wrong size or if it just didn't work for you, we'll do a free exchange, and that's for orders in U.S., Mexico, and Canada.
I like.
International orders, unfortunately, we just can't. We can't take on the cost of doing returns and exchanges.
Okay.
I love the option though. I think that's great. I wish more accessible products offer that because a lot of the times they don't quite work the way that you expect them to. One thing that
Absolutely.
I really liked about it and wanted to ask about was the thumb support, the thumb loop.
That was
I early on, like I would like tuck my thumb. I don't know if you can kind of see like the way I'm doing it right now. Like I would
Yeah.
like thread the utensil between like my index and middle finger, and I would like tuck my thumb underneath it like that to like just kind of squeeze it a little tighter. Like it would use my tenodesis to like give me some dexterity when I was stabbing it because that was like my biggest issue is like when I'd poke something, the utensil would move or shimmy or just get out of place completely when I would like
Yeah.
try to stop it. But also now I'm having real struggles with like wrist pain and stuff because it's like a bad habit that I still have where I tuck my thumb and I'm pulling on a lot of tendons and stuff that connect to like my forearm muscles and it is always inflamed. It's always causing me pain. And I'm trying to like work away from that habit. Like I've been back at OT for a while now, working on different techniques and ways of doing things that I'm used to doing, or looking and trying different adaptive tools that might allow me to like function in a similar manner and just as efficiently, but without triggering my body in a
Yeah.
way that's healthy.
Yeah, absolutely. There's always that trade-off, right, of function versus longevity. and being able to do something in the moment versus being able to do it over the long term. That's a trade off, right? And you gotta
Yeah.
you gotta weigh the pros and the cons. Yeah.
Something that we talk about a lot on the show is aging with disability. Bobby has a show on Thursday just about that, pretty much. And part of that is rehab is a constant in your life once you're disabled, I think. And, life is constantly changing. Hobbies are changing. You get a new toy, you get a new tool that you want to use and learn how to, do. But also, as you age, I've been 27 years paralyzed now. Your body changes over time too. And sometimes that mandates changing how you do things. So being open to trying out different ways of doing something, being open to using adaptive tools, which maybe you could talk about a little bit, Shawn, because I know you've been a little biased in your past about, adaptive tools like this. But I always encourage people to be very open-minded to it and just be receptive to trying things in a different way or working on things in a different way if they're causing you discomfort, if they're not working for you, or, if you've got to that point where you've aged to a certain point, your body's changed a significant degree, and you kind of have to figure out a new way of doing something, So just always encourage everyone to keep an open mind when it comes to this stuff, because I think it does help you in the long run and being able to change and adapt and figure out what works best for you. And what works best for you also might change. So being open and receptive to that is, I think, very important.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, Andrew, we had two other. Well, one, Luis, got to get the wax out of your ears. He's 3 sizes, and we're good friends with Luis, but he has them in 3 sizes. Luis, small, medium, large. And then a really good question from our good friend Mike was asking about knives. Your butter knife. Obviously, I know in my silverware drawer, the handle's a lot thicker at the end. So have you thought about the knife situation? Are you thinking about coming up with a little bit different style?
Yeah. So would love to, and we have plans to come out with a rocker knife. So it'd be all metal, stainless steel, so that it would still slide into the utensil slot underneath.
Mm-hmm.
And then it would be kind of like a crescent moon shape underneath.
Yeah, there you go.
Put downward pressure, rock back and forth.
Mm-hmm.
So that is in the works. I would love to be able to quit my 9 to 5 and just do this full time. I really have a passion for this kind of stuff, and if that was the case, I feel like I would have had a rocker knife probably a year or so ago. But unfortunately, the innovation process is a little slower when you're working a standard Monday through Friday 9 to 5. But yeah, rocker knife is definitely in the future. So we do have an email list. I really don't send too much out, so don't be afraid of getting spammed. But if you go to our website, MagnaCuff.com, and sign up for that, we'll always let you know if we're coming out with something new. And then we're also on social media. So Instagram is really the primary one that I use, at MagnaCuff, and we'll let folks know when we're coming out with anything new.
Yeah,
that's awesome. That'd be great.
Shawn, another question for you, if you're open to it. The bias surrounding adaptive assistive tools like this exists, and it's something that I've encountered a lot with other quad friends, even like being at occupational therapy and stuff myself now more regularly. I've ran into some new quads that have a similar bias against it, like they don't want to use anything. And I do kind of agree that the best adaptive tool is no adaptive tool if you can manage it, but the reality is that sometimes you do need something. So can you maybe talk to us a little bit about that? What was that? Why did you have that maybe at the beginning? Has it changed? Do you still have that bias a little bit?
It has changed over the years for sure. In the beginning, I think it was, well, partially because I was 21 or right when I got hurt, 20, I still wanted to go out places and look as normal as I could, like I didn't want to draw too much attention and all that. And then back then too, the tools were all there was the Velcro fabric straps. And honestly, like it's gonna take the time it took me to get on, the look at, I just didn't like any of it. Plus, I'm not very good with asking people to do things like clean that or wash that regularly. So like I can imagine it just would get disgusting for me. Like the plastic seems a lot safer, easier, and you can notice if you have something stuck to it, you're like, oh, like that's stuck. Like let me wipe that off. Like especially with this white one, it's like dude, you can see anything that might be on it and keep it clean. And then I also think that like something like this, you could easily keep in your bag. It's very light, small, compact, and I don't think it looks that off or weird, and it's easy to pop on. I don't have to use my teeth to open the Velcro strap to like pull it to hold it to do it. I can literally slide this on my hand, just using my other hand to push pressure on it. This one won't quite slide because it's a little tight. My palm's just too thick for it to slide in there. But that's, I think, part of what has changed now. And yeah, being older, I feel like, and having the experience of like my 20 years of doing it, I feel like that, yeah, I've accept like the thoughts I had of how I looked in the beginning as like the 21, 22-year-old, like I don't feel the same anymore. Like if I personally now, if I saw somebody using a device, like great, like let me just like like I wouldn't think it looked anything less or think anything but like, oh awesome, I'm glad they're doing that for themselves. Hell yeah, new quad eating by himself, sweet. Like
Yeah.
So yeah, that's
I think you brought up a really great point too, Shawn, is that it's sometimes it's not even so much like the vanity of like using the assistive device, but if it's complicated to get set up on your hand and you're out at a restaurant or something and you got to tear Velcro and do this whole thing, that in itself can be kind of embarrassing because it can draw attention for other people at the table or other people nearby and stuff. So that one can be difficult, just the vanity of getting it set up, but then also using it too, like if you have this ugly beige looking thing on your hand, and I understand that too, and I understand that for like a lot of newly injured individuals, and it's something that I've too been able to get over in time. Like, but also I've been able to find cool assistive stuff that is sleek like that. It's sleek to slide on, meaning like it's just a matter of sliding it on your hand. There's no loud noises. There's no like ceremony to it. It's just bing bang boom, you're done, and that's awesome. And also like the black color or like the different coloring and stuff. Like I love that too because it does make it look a little bit more discreet. Like it isn't as obvious, and I think that's something that I've seen a lot more in like assistive tools like this is something that the engineers and the developers are considering more, which is great.
And actually, I have a question in response to that. We currently offer black and white, but I am always curious. Do you or people do they want to be more like expressive and flashy with their adaptive devices? Are they wanting the bright colors? Are they, not only embracing, but you're wanting to show it off, right? And if there's someone who has a pink wheelchair, are they also wanting, pink adaptive devices? And I have a question for you all and anyone watching as well.
I think it's probably pretty individual. Like I know some disabled folks that are very loud and proud, meaning, it's like hot pink everything or, very bright colors and stuff like that, which is great. And then some people, I don't know, like I don't do like a color shroud on my chair. I'm like all black. I'm like, I don't want stuff showing up if it's stuck on there. Like I want it to be kind of as incognito as possible. And it's kind of similar with like my adaptive devices and stuff. I just like things to be sleek and like streamlined and like not super, but that's just my personality. So I think it maybe depends on.
Yeah, I think everybody. I'm a very colorful person. Like I bright shoes all the time. I love different styles of running shoes, and usually the brighter the better for me. But when it comes to that kind of stuff, no color because I don't want it to show up where in case, it is 30, it's not showing like where I'm like, oh, I didn't watch that last night, so, but I think everybody is, maybe Olivia, you might want to. Olivia asks, what about clear? I don't know if you can do a clear color, but maybe some of the females might be a pink, or and with 3D printing, which is great. It's like, oh, we ran out of that color, and I don't know your 3D printing situation, but it's more about getting the spindle on and changing the color to blue or pink. But you can probably produce, 5 of them, and then just okay, I'm back in stock and that kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah. And I've also considered too, for folks who want to be even more discreet, are we looking at, can you pick your skin tone, right, and have it be printed in that color to even, yeah.
I love that thought.
While I'm asking you guys questions, I've got another question for you and anyone watching. Mm-hmm. So right now, for a fork and a spoon, what other things would you or anyone watching like to be able to pick up with?
Willie actually in the chat, Willie asked about a pen, like for just writing utensils, because if you have anything or thinking about something for that. But yeah, I'd love to hear more things of people from the chat, or if you guys have any. The knife and that would be, I feel like that's something I've never really been able to use. I have watched Tom use a regular old knife, cut an avocado in half and peel it out of the thing. And it was one of the scariest things I ever watched. The whole time I was watching, I was nervous. So knife stuff is just one thing I've never been comfortable with, but like that sounds like it would be such a cool thing. But anybody else in the chat have anything else?
And with 3D printing, it's endless. And I'm sure if you're on Instagram, you're following abilities with all his stuff. And what is it? Kelly, KFK?
Yeah.
Kelly.
Yeah.
And so it becomes endless on what you can do. And I think you're hitting it on the head. And there's another device that we had on and featured, and actually I have a meeting with him tomorrow. But this thing's a hook, so you can pick things off the ground. But what I did is I took it and had my guy drill a hole in it, and I was able to put a magnet on the end. And because the hook's great, but also a magnet's even faster than a hook, like a pin or some change. So I put together, and so tomorrow I'm going to show them like, oh, this is what I did. It's a prototype, but magnets for picking up items and things like that, they're, come in handy.
Absolutely.
And I think Leah or somebody said it, I believe Shawn might have dropped the fork or spoon, and with that cuff, you can reach down and will it pick it up? And Olivia said, can you put it on your fridge with that type of magnet that's in there? Do you think?
It depends on what your fridge is made out of. So the utensils that we have are stainless steel, but they're a certain type of stainless steel. So if it's a relatively like standard utensil, or even like your cheaper utensils that you find in hospitals, those are made with a certain type of stainless steel that don't have nickel in them. So the higher the nickel content in the stainless steel, the less magnetic it becomes. So usually your fancier utensils are not going to be magnetic. And the other reason that we wanted to supply utensils with each MagnaCuff purchase is that it's actually kind of hard to find a utensil that's flat and also broad and also kind of thin. If it's curved, you're still going to attach to the magnet, but it's going to be a less strong attachment. And then if it's round, you're really not going to have great success. And if it's too heavy, it's, the magnet's going to hold it, but it's going to be more loose. And so this is kind of the sweet spot where we landed, where it's broad, it's thin, it's relatively flat. And then like I showed you before, you can bend it to get that angle if you are stabbing straight down.
Mm-hmm.
So back to your earlier question, it really depends what your fridge is made out of. Hard to answer that. Some it probably will stick to, some it probably won't. Um, One thing we have been thinking about creating is a metal clip that you could either strap or bind onto other household or other items. So a metal clip that you could put on an electric toothbrush. I saw in the chat your pen, your vape pen, makeup brushes is another one we've gotten a lot of interest in. And so that those are the next steps as the rocker knife, and then creating clips that you can put on things throughout your house. You could have one on your spatula, um, have one on your pencil, right? So you could still use it with other things, and you're only needing to buy as many clips as you want, and then you just use the one MagnaCuff for everything else.
That sounds pretty cool. Yeah, that's a really
Yeah,
good
my
idea.
first thought is, maybe like a writing utensil, but the problem is most writing utensils aren't magnetic and, like vertical positioning, it's like differently angled. Like pencils, aren't going to magnetize and stuff, but I like the idea of having like an attachment that you could put a pencil or something in. The
Yeah,
other thing that I thought of too, which I think would be made more useful, is slide-in stylus that you could like then use your and to kind of just poke at stuff or even interact with your phone if like you keep it on phone holder or your lap or something, you can just kind of easily like move your palm up there and interact with it more dexterously, or
yeah,
just like poke the keys. Those are kind of like my first thoughts, but I'll think about it and certainly send you any more ideas if I come
yeah.
up with it.
Yeah, let me know. I had the great opportunity to go up to Chicago and participate in the Abilities Expo up there,
Yeah.
and I got so much good feedback from folks who were excited about the fact that you could use it to eat, but also then you could see the wheels start to turn, and they'd say, "Oh, what about this? What about this?" I even interacted with some pediatric occupational therapists who work in the school, and they're saying their kids have a hard time signing their name on their homework, and so what they use is a rubber stamp, but a lot of them have a hard time holding on to that rubber stamp. So could we create a metal clip that you could attach to that stamp that they could then use the MagnaCuff for? So, yeah, please let me know if you think of anything else, and keep them coming in the chat if you can think of it. I see a shaver there as well. So
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, it can be endless about, what we need it for. And that's like we said earlier with 3D printing, it's endless what you can start going to.
yeah,
I just wanted to like give my experience with this too. I started out using a lot of adaptive cuffs and things like this to learn how to write, to learn how to eat, to learn how to hold my toothbrush, and do everything. And for the first 4 or 5 years, I did use them for all of those activities, and they helped set the foundation for how I do everything that I do now. So I don't use the cuffs too much anymore. I'm actually getting back to some tools that might, make my life a little bit easier, at least like help me out in the way like triggering, like less triggering for pain and stuff like that. But um, even if you start out using these cuffs, and this may be for our more newly injured folks or anybody who's just trying to learn independent living skills and ADL tasks like this, just because you start using them doesn't mean you're going to use them forever. They were kind of the building blocks to how I learned how to do everything that I do. And without them, and kind of without allowing the to like more easily stabilize a pencil or a pen or something, I wouldn't have learned how to write the way that I do independently without having first used a cuff like that. So I just want to really encourage everyone, um, even if it is a measure to just get you to that next level of independence. I just really encourage you to keep an open mind to assistive devices like this, because I think they can be really life changing and very profound when it comes to like learning those skills at first and allowing you to even graduate beyond them in time if that's your intention or your want.
No, yeah, that's a great point. Well said, Tom. It's a like and we're always going to be adapting, changing, moving like things. Like I can say that from my experience of the years. Like what using a tool to help you learn how to do something, and then finding a better tool, adapting things. that's just kind of how things go. I feel like. And Wheelchair Rick made a comment I just thought was funny that you must be one of the the coolest OT, but you do seem like you'd be a fun OT to have.
And you know, and that's I always and what you've done is what I always tell OT students, and the three of us get asked a lot to go to these different OT schools, and always the question, you know, like what can make me a better OT? And I always just, and even if they don't ask that, I'm like, well, here's what you need to do if you want to be an OT. Learn about the person, learn about, you know, the area that you're in, you know, especially, you know, if somebody brings up something like, oh, I like football, and you don't like football, get to learn to know, like maybe even just their team. What's your favorite team? Oh, it could be, you know, the Dolphins, whatever. And look into what the Dolphins have, and do some research, because it's going to go a lot further. And if it, you know, especially you working in the spinal cord, you already did what you were supposed to, in the sense that you were going out there participating in these events and getting to know these patients. And I'm sure that's how this MagnaCuff came to fruition, you know, and because you were learning about these people. And you know, there's other avenues where it's a little bit harder, but I always say it doesn't, you just learning a little bit about what they do goes a long way of being the coolest OT or PT.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I appreciate that, and I couldn't agree more. And I think I would add to that is, you know, have empathy, right? Like literally try to put yourself in someone else's place and think about if 3 times a day you got stressed out about something that everyone, you know, you used to do without any sort of effort or any sort of thought, like eating a meal. You know, for me, the thought of that was pretty. It hit me pretty hard, and I saw people struggling with it and feeling like they lost that dignity. And I think a lot of times, as healthcare professionals, caregivers, you know, people who have a hard time with activities of daily living, it can be easy to be presented with whatever's kind of the standard tool out there for that task. And if it doesn't really meet your needs, it's easy to just get a little dejected, and think, well, nothing better exists, so this is where we're at right now. And with 3D printing, like you said, Bobby, you can do so much with that, and the possibilities are truly endless. And the other thing too that I would recommend is, you know, if there's any practitioners or, like I said, caregivers watching, the first thing you create it actually shouldn't be sexy. It shouldn't look good. It should be kind of rough and rudimentary while you're trying to figure out the next best thing. And that was certainly the case for me. And it also, oh yeah, there's a great photo. So this is kind of the progression of the different types of prints that we designed. For me, it was a very basic thing that we started off with. And you just have to continue plugging away and interacting with people who are going to be the end users to get feedback from them, and take every feedback that you get, whether that's positive or negative, as an opportunity to learn and make it better. And you know, I'm not at the final place with the MagnaCuff. We're still making it better. Early on, we didn't make it thick enough, so it was breaking. So we thickened up the design. So that's always a hard setback to hear one of your customers say, "Hey, I love it. It's working great, but it broke." So we're always very responsive. If that happens to anyone, we're giving them a replacement and working on making the design better. But that's part of innovation. You gotta put something new out there and see how people respond and take feedback and just try to make it better.
Yeah, and I just want to shout out OTs too. One of my first occupational therapists, Ruth Fatui, 26 years ago, she helped change my life and my family's life, and really helped enable my independence in a meaningful way that still impacts me today. So I just want to shout out awesome occupational therapists out there, because they really do make a big difference in how we live our regular daily lives.
And in a long way, I think you guys get the raw end of the deal, especially in the spinal cord world, because we think of PT first because what's the number one thing we want to do after an injury? You kind of want to walk, right? So give me the PT because we don't know any better. You're like, oh, okay, OT. You mean I got to pick up this cylinder and put it over here? All right. We're not thinking of how important that is going to become to your ADLs. And
Yeah.
it just, and I think you guys in the long run get the raw end. It's just like, because here the PTs are working with your leg strength and this and that, where really you're the one that's going to get me up in the morning and get me dressed and showered and shaved and my shirt on or my shirt off and pants and the list just keeps going on and on and then oh yeah, and I need to get to point A to point B. Driving, okay, then that's an OT again. Really, I mean, but our mindset is thinking we got to get stronger down there.
Well, some of the hardest exercises and strengthening I've done has been in OT because it's like my dexterity and my fine motor control and stuff. It's where I'm the most weak, like engaging those muscles, learning how to re-engage those muscles or utilize what I have in a non-traditional way was some of the hardest exercising I've ever done in my life. So it made me excited for PT going back. But no, it's a really, really, really important therapy. And if you are finding yourself in a situation or position where you're wanting to work on some of the stuff that we've talked about, it's never too late to go back. I mentioned this earlier in the show. I almost 30 years into my injury, I'm going back to OT to learn skills and do strengthening and rehabilitative exercise. Well into my injury. So there's no time limit on occupational therapy or therapy in general. I don't think so. I just want to put that out there. If it is something you're interested in, encourage you to, reach out to your doctor and your insurance and figure out what's available for you.
Wow, I wasn't expecting to come on here and get so much love from y'all. This is great, but I appreciate all the kind words. And while we're spreading the love, I'm truly grateful to be on this with you all. And I just want to acknowledge too, resources like Live to Roll are so essential. And I frequently, when I was working with folks, especially an inpatient when they're newly injured, I was always forwarding them to resources like yours. Just because I think, especially in that time in the process, it's really hard to imagine what life can and will look like. And then also ongoing, I love that you all have an aging with spinal cord injury as well. I think that's just, it means so much more coming from you all because you have the lived experience. And on that note, I would also encourage anyone watching, go to MagnaCuff.com and you'll see videos of some of our users using it. I know I did a demo today, but I feel like it always goes much further if you see someone with limited hand function using the device. And there's plenty of videos as well on Instagram. And our handle is at MagnaCuff, MagnaCuff.
And those
and
both
like,
should be in the
go ahead,
description.
Shawn.
Like I say, those both should be in the description for you.
Okay,
so
great.
You can just click right below.
Great, yeah. And then you can also message us directly through our website, MagnaCuff.com. I have my email on there as well. Like I said, 30-day free trial. It's $34, comes with a fork and a spoon. So it gives you that time to trial the device. I think you guys hit the nail on the head with new devices. They take time to learn. And sometimes after trying to learn it, it's still not a good option for you, in which case we want to give you your money back and live with your life and hopefully find something better that works for you. But we're always wanting to give you the opportunity to at least try the MagnaCuff and see if it works for you.
No, that's really cool. And honestly, that's a good price point for any really adaptive tools. Like that's not affordable for somebody with a disability. It's, like you said, you don't have to buy 100 of them. You buy one, and then hopefully in the future there will be, you'll have like a clip system that can clip into them, all that cool stuff. So,
and we just appreciate being mindful of that. It's something that we've seen, here and there. But price and the ability to try something out are pretty far and few between for most adaptive tools and things like this. So I think it's just really really great that you're understanding and considerate of that. I think it makes a huge statement and a huge difference in
Yeah.
the life of people deciding to use it. So
Yeah,
we
and
appreciate
that was honestly part of our business model. I say our. It's a small operation. It is myself, and I have a 3D designer who will make tweaks, and he does all of the printing for me. That is certainly not to say I didn't have a lot of people on my team um, during the design process at Craig Hospital. Eric Yeltness is he may as well be an OT and a PT. He's a peer support specialist at Craig Hospital, and he was instrumental in coming up with the design. He was the one who told me, "Hey, it's got to have a thumb loop. Like if you don't add a thumb loop, it's not going to be the best device possible." So I've got a great team, and now I try to run the business as efficiently as possible to keep the cost down because I've for better or for worse, I've seen folks who newly injured or injured down the road, and I knew that there were some amazing adaptive devices out there, but the fact that the price point was kind of out of reach for some of those people. I saw that frustration, and so wanted to keep it as approachable as possible, while also providing a quality product. The trade off for that is that it's taken longer than I would have hoped for. This all started in 2019,
Yeah.
but if that's what it takes, that's what it takes, and I'm really happy to be where I'm at today.
And one quick question. I don't know if you answered this, but it. I noticed that the way you were demonstrating it, and I just happened to leave a fork on my desk today, but it was more like this way. Can you also have your hand on like in this direction with your cuff?
Yeah,
So
Bobby, you like to eat like that. I see in your YouTube.
yeah, I'm more because my thumb, kind of holds it, and then that's how I eat. And just the way I've done it. So can you eat both ways with your cuff?
Yeah,
Keeping it in
you
pronation?
you certainly could. So you could. I think is this if it was. Let me get the fork. Does it come out on your pinky or on your thumb side? I couldn't tell.
Yeah, on my pinky side.
Pinky side, yeah. So yeah, you could flip it absolutely.
Hmm.
The thumb loop just wouldn't be,
Right.
wouldn't be doing anything. But as
Yeah.
long as it's going to put the same amount of pressure on your hand and hold it in place in
Yeah.
that position as
Hmm.
it does in the opposite position. So yeah, absolutely, you could flip it and use
And
it.
when I was, go ahead.
you go, Bobby. Go finish what you're
Oh,
saying.
I was just going to tell you real quick. I did do a design long time ago before any products were being adaptive, but I kept looking at the way people eat, and it was almost like this. And so what I told my dad, like, and looking at people's, having a ring or something like that. So my dad and I, what we did is he got a couple rings, and he soldered onto the fork a ring on top and a ring on the bottom, so I can just put my two fingers in there, and that's how I was able to start to eat and learn how to eat. And
Okay.
so it was I just needed my own fork with the rings on the top and the bottom, which were
Yeah.
great. And I've seen now a couple styles like that out, which
Dining
is
with
great.
dignity is one of them.
What's that?
Dining with dignity is one of those.
Yeah, maybe. And
Yeah.
but I used to work at Rancho Los Amigos, and we 3D printed it. The only thing and it was great, but the fork part was too sharp. We just couldn't dull the fork part. And so maybe thinking about that is, I don't know, with 3D printing to do it all in one, where you have your fork and your spoon attached to it. Um, you know,
Yeah.
maybe one for the fork, one for the spoon, or I'm sure getting into a Swiss Army knife kind of situation
Yeah.
would start to be a headache, but
Yeah.
it's
See,
an idea. Just kind of popped in because what we did the rings and the fork. It just every time I was like about to try to think about using the fork, I'm like, that is sharp. So
Yeah.
we did the,
Speaking of how people do things, can you take a sip from your water bottle again, real quick? I noticed it earlier in the show, and I just thought it was really interesting since we're talking about ADLs. And eating's one thing, but drinking's another. And I thought it was so cool how you balance it on your arm like that to take a sip. And I
Yeah.
was like, let's go. Because I drink, I do it a little different. I like two-hand it, like, baby drinking a bottle or something, and just use my teeth and do two hands. And I can hold the bottle with one hand, but supinating, like, or pronating, whatever it is, to twist it, to get it, like, I can grip it with my mouth and flip it up, but I can't do that on my own with one hand like you did with the cool arm sport. I just thought it was interesting. I noticed it earlier, and since we're talking about OT stuff, I was like, I wanted to bring it up before the end.
yeah.
I thought it was cool.
I get that asked a lot. Like, how do you do your thing? Like, I think it was more came out of laziness.
Yeah, I was like, dang, that's pretty cool.
To use two hands, all of a sudden your balance starts coming in. You're like,
That's exactly
it was more just like, oh, that works. Okay.
Yeah, Luis said to make it a spork, so you could have
There you
both
go.
utensils on
There
there
you
at
go.
once. And then TLC asked about a butter knife for doing bread, and I think butter knives are kind of thick, probably go in there. But I've actually now learned from my wife, it's easier to spread butter or peanut butter or anything with the back of a spoon. Like, so use the spoon, and you can use the back of it, like, to dip. I'm trying to start learning how to do that, and spreading it on my own. But a spoon works really good to spread. Like, if you're just trying to spread, like, butter, or like you're asking for a butter knife, or peanut butter, I feel like the back of the spoon works really well.
That's great.
So.
That's great. I would even add on to that. I'm a huge fan of the butter storage containers. That it's usually like a porcelain. It's almost like 2 cups. You put 1 cup inside of a bigger cup, and then you have water in the bigger cup, and so it keeps it. It's at room temperature, but it keeps it fresh. So that way you're not having to cut cold butter with.
There you go. That's nice.
Huh.
That's a good tip.
We always just store ours up above, and where we keep our dishes. It just we never put it in the fridge.
Yeah, that might be one of those things that we do as Americans that we don't actually need to.
In the summertime, it starts to you're like, ugh, get a little
I
warm.
don't even keep my butter in my fridge. I've been like trying cold butter all these years. Come on.
I just don't. Yeah, we never stored it. It's worse trying to put cold butter on your toast.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it is. That is a good point, and it's a lot harder to do the cold. So yeah, no, those are great tips. I feel like that's good stuff for people trying to do more independent stuff. I'm trying to learn how to do more cooking and things on that, and I need to start figuring that out. So I'm working on it. But all right, I didn't realize what time it was. Sorry, Tom. I'll let everybody can have a little second here, but I didn't realize that we were already like 10 minutes past. This has just been very like fun and easy to talk, and got a lot of engagement in the chat and stuff. So Andrew, we'll let you kind of give a final thought. Did you guys have anything else you wanted to close out with before we do sponsors and shows?
Are we gonna do the giveaway? Are we gonna do it at the very end? And how are we gonna do it?
Yeah, I actually did want to do that in here. Okay, let's. I do want to do that.
Willie,
we have 26 people watching live. Okay, if anybody watching live, last time we just did a random number drawing, 1 through 100. I had you guys put your numbers in the chat, and then we did a random number drawing. We just drew. So if you do want to be part of the drawing, if you're a quad, please drop a number in the chat. We'll do that right now.
1 through 20. 1 through 20.
That'll give. So do that. No, 1 through 100 is good. I can do a random number generated through 100. I'll look up. I can. Yeah, there's random number generators I found last time. So we'll just do that real quick. So until that point, and then when you guys do drop a number in the chat, we'll pick a number, and then I'll make sure Andrew gets your information. Either you can directly contact him or contact me, and I will get the information there to you guys. All right, so real quick, let's go ahead and do the sponsors and stuff, and then we can kind of talk about anything else. Anything else you guys want to wrap up with? Tom, you want to thank sponsors?
Shout out mobility professionals and urology professionals for whom we would not be so easily here disseminating such awesome, good, positive information. So we appreciate them so much for supporting Live to Roll for as long as they have. If you're fortunate enough to be here in beautiful, sunny Southern California, Mobility Professionals is a DME company that can help you get into your wheelchair, get the right chair for you, help you through the process because we know it is a complicated one and very important to get in the right equipment. But they can also help you with other similar equipment like standing frames, shower chairs, and stuff like that. So if you are local to SoCal and you find yourself in need, please reach out to them. I promise it'll be one of the best decisions you've made in a while. And Urology Professionals is national. So anywhere in the US of A, if you find yourself needing some help, go into the bathroom. They got your back. Catheters and stuff, all of us know how important it is to have regular on-time supplies, to not get into a situation where we're putting our health at risk. They are an awesome company that can help navigate your insurance, get you what you need for as little to no cost as possible. And like I said, they are anywhere in the U.S. It's national. So if you find yourself in need, give them a call and reach out, and they can certainly help you out. And thank you for supporting Live to Roll.
Oh,
Olivia with $20
And
super chat.
Olivia, today's
We love
sponsor, thank you.
Olivia.
too much, Olivia.
Yeah, we appreciate that as always, Olivia. You're
Appreciate the support.
always supportive.
But the sport is meaningful. You know, we are here. We're keeping the content free on YouTube, not behind any paywall, because it's important that it's accessible to anyone, anywhere with access to YouTube. So your guys' support and the sponsor support does help make this easier to do every week. So we really, really do appreciate it.
Yeah, no, we definitely appreciate the support. And Leon asked if your caregiver can play. If your caregiver's watching and in the chat and gonna give it to you, that's fine.
Heck yeah.
I think that's if you got your caregiver, you're giving us a couple of views. I think it's fair. You're in the chat and it's going to somebody that's going to use it. So, and Leon, I mean not Leon, sorry, Luis just mentioned in the chat for anybody that's local to SoCal tomorrow. Me and Luis help out running a local support group here in the Inland Empire. Tomorrow we're meeting at New Haven City, which is basically a big food court hangout area thing in Rancho Cucamonga. So if anybody is in the area wanting to come. And this Saturday, if you're anywhere in the LA area, Rancho Los Amigos is having their spinal cord injury games. It's like a big sports festival thing. I'll be there hanging out, playing. We don't have a booth or anything there, but I will be there just as a contestant. And Bobby also will be there running some of the events, I think.
My obstacle course come out
He's awesome.
for the challenge of our obstacle course for best time.
All right, now real quick, let's run through the shows. Tomorrow, if Tom, I know, has had some caregiving stuff.
Sorry, you guys. I've been struggling on Wednesdays a little bit with some caregiving changes and some stuff going on. I really want to do some gaming, but I also want to do some cooking. I really want to try some cooking tomorrow. So I got to talk to Shawn and figure a few things out. I'm really going to try to show up. We're either going to be gaming or cooking, maybe both. We might cook, then game. But that's really my intention for tomorrow is to try to do some live cooking for you guys, some meal prep. So you have to show up to find out what we're doing, but make sure to tune in. It'll be something.
So make sure you are subscribed to Live to Roll and click that bell so you get the notifications when it pops up to go live. So look forward to that, and we will try to get some more of a regular cooking thing.
It's like my big one. I really want to get started. We've talked about Fridays and stuff. Like I said, this is our stuff to figure out, but that is my intention, is to try to get back and do some regular cooking. I'm not going to forget about gaming, but it's just some important stuff I want to try to share here on Live to Roll, other than gaming too.
Oh, that's awesome, man. We always, anything we can help share to show people, like, what's possible, what's out there, living your life, doing your thing. I think that's all great for the channel. That's what we want to do.
More death-defying cooking, as Olivia said.
And honestly, yeah, Tom uses a knife and it's a little bit scary.
Safely, safely. It looks scary, but it's perfectly safe.
And also tune in Thursday. Bob will be back with Robert and Luis, and I think they actually have a couple guests coming on. Paul, who's usually in the chat, Chad from Chair Life, and they're going to be talking some just general open discussion about aging.
A lot of adaptive items as well, with Chad being there, and we'll bring up definitely the MagnaCuff.
So yeah, tune back in on Thursday. And then if you missed it, last Thursday, the girls were on for a Wheel Girl Talk. So check that out. It's up on the channel. They were talking about UTIs and skincare and how they manage both of those things in their daily lives. So make sure to tune in and check out all their tips and just fun talk that they had. And then also for Thursdays, on the first Thursday of next month, we'll have Rolling with the Golden Oldies, which is women's aging with a disability show. And it's a great panel of women. They have a lot of incredible experience in life and living with a disability. So tune in and check them out as well the fall next week. And we're back every Tuesday for Live to Roll Tuesdays. Me, Bobby, and Tom. Next week, actually, I'll have to check and see. I forget what I got going on for next week, but we'll have a good show for you guys. This is the final week for Spinal Cord Injury Awareness Month. We've been trying not to like completely just talk about that, but really trying to just talk about important aspects of living life with a disability, spinal cord injury specifically, I guess sometimes. But we thank everybody for watching. No matter what your disability is, we appreciate you, and we're trying to highlight everybody's disabilities as well.
Or if you're just a body caregiver, someone who is in this life or knows someone in this life, we welcome everyone and we appreciate all you guys.
All right, guys. So I think it's about the end. Andrew, if you want to give like kind of a last, anything you would like to share or talk about, and then I will go ahead and go through the numbers and generate a random number, and we can pick a winner for the MagnaCuff.
Awesome. Well, first and foremost, thanks so much for having me on. This has been great. You guys provide an amazing resource, and it's a great platform for someone like myself to learn more about what people want and have a chance to highlight the MagnaCuff. A few things I would add at the end here. We've been talking about using the MagnaCuff for folks with spinal cord injury, but it's really for anyone who has limited or absent finger function, even painful joints of the hand. A lot of our orders come in from folks who have arthritis. So if, whether it's a spinal cord injury or another condition that affects your ability to use for a spoon, this could be a useful tool. And I would also encourage you to check us out on Instagram. Go look at our website to see videos of actual end users using the MagnaCuff so you can get a sense for how it works for them. And if you're in any sort of like caregiver support, Facebook group, Instagram group, would love if you could help us spread the word. We're kind of a grassroots business, so any help we can get, we really appreciate that, and would love to get the MagnaCuff on more tables.
Yeah, awesome.
Once again, thanks so much for giving me. Y'all are great, and this resource is truly amazing.
And thank you, Andrew. We appreciate you, not just what you do, but taking the time to come on here and share what you do with the rest of us. We really appreciate it.
Absolutely. My pleasure.
And who's going to be the lucky winner? What we got, Shawn?
Generating number now.
No whammy, no whammy, no whammy.
It actually generated 8 as the random number. I don't think
someone
picked
picked 7.
But somebody picked 7, and I was just going to go with whoever was closest. So that was Leon. I think.
Leon, let's go.
Yeah, Leon picked 7 there. So
couldn't have gone to a cooler person.
Oh. Roy,
Leon,
you should have gone.
I actually think I have your shipping information already.
Did Roy say 6?
What, was there a 6?
Oh,
there was a 6. So okay, so we had a 6 and a 7. Oh no, but 7 is no. I thought it was not a 9.
8 was your number.
8 was the number, so we're good.
Yeah,
we were the closest. Leon was the closest.
Yeah, my bad.
If Roy would have picked 9, then we would have had to do some sort of
tiebreaker.
But awesome. So we got Leon is a quad. And I know he would get great use out of it. So we'll make sure to find out his size, and we'll get him set up. And that's awesome. I honestly think that's a great person for it to go to. So I do have your address, Leon, too, because we were going to ship you the shirt. Yeah, or we are shipping you the shirt so that you got. So I can already get that to him or send it. So awesome. That's couldn't be happier with that.
Shout out Leon and Juan and Willie and Olivia and Ben and Luis and Roy and everyone that's stopped by the show today. We've had some really nice viewership, and we just appreciate everyone who participates in the chat, who's been hanging out with us the whole time. You guys are why we're doing this, and you give us a lot of love, help feed our souls. So we appreciate you. And don't worry, Leon, I won't be jacking your prize. I'll make sure they send it along.
Awesome. All right, so guys, that was a fun show. Andrew, again, thank you. We really do appreciate you coming on, and this went by so fast and easy just because, yeah, that was just a great topic and easy to talk about. And thank you, everybody. Like Tom said in chat, we appreciate all you guys. Make sure you like the video, you subscribe to Live to Roll, you click that bell for notifications, and also make sure to follow MagnaCuff on Instagram. Their information is down below. Make sure to check them out, follow, and order yours if you think it'll help your life. So appreciate it. All right, everybody.
Andrew, appreciate you.
Thanks, guys. Hey, pleasure being on.
Once the show ends, you don't have to hang up right away. We'll have a chance to say bye off the air. So just hang on with us.
Forgot to mention that before, but yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate you all. Live to roll. See you next time.